So I saw this video today.
It's the remix.
And seeing how C-sections are classified can cause some trauma. When you look back and you remember all of the reasons why it was necessary, or they told you that it was necessary to do a C-section, and it looks like from the charting that was done is that they just did it for fun. Or not for fun, or we just decided to do it. So C-sections are basically broken down into 3 different categories. Number 1 is scheduled. These are the ones where we're like, okay, baby's breech. There's a gnat in here. I got it. Okay, so scheduled would be like baby's breech. It's a repeat C-section. These are the ones where you are given a day and a time that you're going to come in and you know exactly when that baby's going to be born. So then we have unscheduled. Okay, so unscheduled means that we're going into this thinking that this baby's coming out vaginally. Okay, and we get into it and either we stop dilating or baby stops coming down, which are 2 different things. Because one is called arrest of dilation, where the cervix is just not opening up. Then we have arrest of descent, which means that the baby's not coming down. So that could be like you get all the way to 10 centimeters and you do the pushing. And we get pushing for hours and that baby's head doesn't come down. That's called arrest of descent. Unscheduled could also mean we get into labor and your baby is in trouble. And maybe your baby keeps having decels. And your doctor comes in and said, we gotta do this. We gotta have a C-section to save your baby. That is still an unscheduled C-section and may even be classified as elective, that we are electing to do this unscheduledly. The third option is an emergency C-section, also called things like stat C-section or a code cesarean. And you may have been told this is an emergency, okay? But it is not documented as an emergency C-section unless we are running down the hallway on 2 wheels. Skirt! This would be things like cord prolapse, uterine rupture, placental abruption. Emergency C-sections are the ones where we only have like less than 10 minutes to get a baby out before something absolutely catastrophic happens. And so you may go through labor and have people coming in and flipping you and flopping you and telling you that we're in a situation where we need to do a C-section and it still not be classified as an emergency. And that's for a few different reasons. There are things that happen with an emergency C-section that don't happen for unscheduled C-sections. In emergency C-sections, we may not have time to fully count all of our instruments. And so that would mean that if we weren't able to count ahead of time, that we would do an x-ray of the patient after the C-section just to make sure that all of our instruments and laps are accounted for. We also may not have time to fully prep, meaning cleaning, the patient before the C-section. Because in an unscheduled C-section, even if it's done for medical purposes, we do like a scrub, right? We scrub it up the belly and we wait for 3 minutes while it dries. So classifying something as an emergency C-section in our minds as healthcare workers means that this was done in a different way than we would for a scheduled or even unscheduled situation. Watching you closely for infection or complications of not being able to do it in a very controlled manner like we normally do. So if you go into your chart and you see things like elective or just unscheduled and you don't see the word emergency, it's just because it's not classified as one of those where we have to get the baby out within 10 minutes or something really, really bad is going to happen. It doesn't mean that it wasn't necessary. It doesn't mean that your providers were lying to you. But I understand that it can feel like you can't trust them, you know, because they said that this needed to happen medically. So why am I seeing it being charted as elective? It just means that you were given all of the risks and benefits of continuing on the path of a vaginal birth and the risks and benefits of the surgery, and we have elected to do the surgery because it's the safest for you and your baby. So unless your C-section was one where we're skirting down the hallway on 2 wheels, you're scared you're going to fall out this bed, we're going so fast, your C-sections probably are not classified as emergency C-sections. Doesn't mean that it wasn't necessary. It just means that we were able to do the surgery in a controlled way.